He walked through the front doors of the Mason Grand carrying a sleeping 4-year-old against his chest and a bouquet of white lilies in his hand. His jeans were worn at the knees. His jacket was the kind that had seen too many winters. His little girl's stuffed bear dangled from her tiny fingers as she slept, completely trusting, completely unaware of what was about to happen to her father at the front desk of the most beautiful hotel she had ever been inside. No one in that lobby, not a single soul, knew that the exhausted man standing at the marble counter was the man whose name was on the deed to every room in the building. Before we go further, if you believe that kindness costs nothing and that people deserve to be seen for who they truly are, not what they're wearing, hit that like button, subscribe to Kindness Corner, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. We tell stories that remind us what it means to be human. Now let's get back to Daniel. Daniel Mercer had built the Mason Grand from nothing. 15 years ago he was a construction worker who slept in his truck between shifts, scraping together every dollar he earned into a savings account that his co-workers laughed at. He didn't come from money. He came from stubbornness and grief and a mother who told him the night before she died that the only thing worth building in this world was something that would outlast your fear. So he built. He sacrificed. He went without vacations, without new clothes, without comfort, until one day the numbers in that account became a down payment, and the down payment became a property, and the property became an empire, quietly, without fanfare, without a single press release or society page feature. Daniel had always preferred it that way. He owned 4 hotels across the country, and almost nobody knew his face. His wife had known his face. She had loved it, creased with worry and lit up with dreams, right up until the accident 3 years ago that took her away and left Daniel alone with a 1-year-old daughter named Rosie and a grief so heavy he could barely dress himself in the mornings. He sold his penthouse. He moved into a modest home near his sister. He stopped wearing the suits. The suits felt like a costume from a life that no longer fit him, and grief has a way of stripping a man down to what is real. He still ran his businesses, quietly, through a trusted team. He had simply stopped performing wealth for an audience that didn't matter. Today he had come to the Mason Grand unannounced, the way he sometimes did, to walk the floors and feel whether the place still had its soul. He had stopped at a flower stand outside because Rosie had pointed at the white lilies from her stroller and said the word "pretty" in that small, serious way she had, and he bought them without thinking twice. They walked in together, a tired father and his sleepy child, and Daniel approached the front desk simply to ask if his usual private office on the 4th floor had been prepared, as his assistant had called ahead to arrange. The woman behind the counter looked him up and down with the particular coldness that some people reserve for those they have already decided don't belong. Her name tag read Christine. She crossed her arms slowly, deliberately, and told him that the hotel was fully booked and that he should try somewhere down the street. Daniel blinked. He explained, calmly, that he wasn't looking for a room, that he had a standing arrangement, that his office was on the 4th floor, that his assistant had called. Christine's expression didn't soften. It sharpened. She told him that no such arrangement existed, that she had never heard his name, and that she would have to ask him to leave before she called security. Behind her, another employee stood watching, arms folded, head tilted, wearing the same quiet contempt like a borrowed coat. Rosie stirred against Daniel's shoulder. He shifted her gently, pressed his lips to the top of her hair, and breathed. He did not raise his voice. He had learned, through years of building something from nothing, that the loudest thing a man can do is stay calm when someone is trying to make him feel small. He simply reached into the inside pocket of his worn jacket and placed a card on the marble counter. Not a credit card. A key card, matte black with a single embossed letter M, that only one person in each of his hotels possessed. The general manager's master key. His key. Christine picked it up. The color left her face so completely and so quickly that the woman behind her actually stepped forward, as if to catch her. 3 minutes later, the hotel's general manager, a good man named Robert who had worked for Daniel for 9 years, came sprinting from the elevator in a full panic, straightening his tie as he crossed the lobby. He took one look at Daniel, one look at Rosie, one look at the flowers, and he understood everything instantly. He apologized so sincerely and so thoroughly that two guests near the concierge desk turned to watch. Daniel listened. Then he asked Robert, quietly and without drama, to please process Christine's termination before the end of the business day, and to ensure the second employee received a formal written warning. He did not enjoy saying it. His voice didn't carry triumph or satisfaction. It carried the tone of a man who had once been told he didn't belong in rooms he had built with his own hands, who had stood in lines and been looked through and been underestimated in 100 small ways that added up to something enormous, and who had decided, a long time ago, that the culture of any place he owned would be built on dignity or it would not stand at all. He rode the elevator to the 4th floor. He laid Rosie down on the small sofa in his office and covered her with his jacket. He set the white lilies on the desk, and he sat quietly for a long moment, looking at his daughter's sleeping face, the most real and important thing in his life, and he thought about his wife, and his mother, and the truck he had slept in, and the dream that had survived all of it. Then he opened his laptop and got back to work. If this story moved something in you, if you've ever been underestimated, overlooked, or made to feel like you didn't belong somewhere you had every right to be, drop a red heart in the comments. Tell us your story. We read every single one. Comment the word lilies below if you believe that how you treat people when you think they have nothing reveals everything about who you really are. Kindness isn't weakness. Dignity isn't loud. And sometimes, the most powerful person in the room is the one carrying flowers and a sleeping child, saying nothing at all, because they've already built the room. Subscribe to Kindness Corner. New stories every week. You belong here.